leadership position, you're going to be looked to see what is right and wrong, and people are going to have you set that standard, so that's a lot of responsibility. It's hard because each specific person thinks right and wrong differently, and you encounter different types of people throughout your work career, and they're going to have different opinions, so it's important to remember if you think for a second it might possibly be wrong, it probably is, and don't do it. So if someone or something is unethical, it's lacking in moral principles, or unwilling to adhere to proper moral conduct. I'm sure that we've all been in situations before where we know something's wrong, or we can feel that it's wrong, but we have to decide, do we do it anyway or not? We use ethics day to day, especially in a workplace setting. As a personal example, over the summer I had an internship at an insurance agency, and I was working in the business investigation unit, and basically my job was to find information about claimants on their social media profiles. So if someone made a claim for a car accident and said they were injured, it was my job to find them on social media and kind of prove or disprove that injury. Most of the time people were lying, which is also unethical to lie to your insurance company. But they would post a picture of themselves like heavy lifting at the gym the next day. And because I lived relatively close to my office and it was right in town, the name of people I would know or be mutual friends with would come across my desk a lot. And of course, legally, I wasn't allowed to share any personal or private information like phone numbers or addresses or anything, or I could have lost my job. But there was one day when a name came across my desk of someone who I actually worked with 2 summers ago and was friends with a good friend of mine. So instantly I picked up my phone and I went to go tell my friend about it and say, you know, how weird that I'm looking at this person at work. But midway through the message, I stopped and I put the phone down and I was like, I can't do that. I can't share someone else's personal business with my friend, especially something I found out at work, because that would be completely unethical. So everyone knows that having bad ethics can ruin a person's career. If you don't follow a personal or professional code of ethics, no one will want to be working in the same environment with you, and you don't want that. An example of this could be Paula Deen. She's a celebrity chef. I'm sure you know her. She's lost many deals and contracts because of racist comments and posts she's put on social media over the past couple of years. And someone, especially in the public eye, really has to be careful about who they're offending. Another example would be of someone with terrible ethics that have affected their career is Matt Lauer. He was one of the hosts of the Today Show, but got fired after 21 years for his unethical behavior, and now he is jobless and has a terrible reputation. NBC fired him after an employee filed complaint about inappropriate sexual conduct in the workplace. An article also later revealed that that was not the first time people have come forward, and apparently his conduct off the camera has been being investigated for a while now. There are many things that you can and probably will lose your job for, but you don't want ethics to be one of them. When you're in a work setting, you're responsible for your actions and how they affect others, and holding yourself to great moral ethics and responsibilities will not only make you a better person, but also better your career. To sum it all up, there is a difference between legal and ethical standards, and having terrible ethical standards can lose you your job.
Okay, I'm Samantha, and I'm going to talk to you about how ethics can boost your career. At our age, it's important to get into the habits of having good ethics, being responsible, having good integrity, a good drive, and really showing professionalism while you're in the workplace. So you always want to put the company first. Even when you're outside of the four walls, you want to have nothing but positive things to say about the company that you work for, because everybody knows someone, and if it gets back that you're bashing your boss or your coworker, it just really doesn't look right, and people aren't going to want to work with you. They're not going to want to tell you things. Back to professionalism, it's not just about how you dress. It's about how you carry yourself, how you have a conversation with someone, all the way down to how you shake someone's hand. Professionalism relates to ethics because you're representing your company. You're going out there and you're showing people what your company is and what you're about. And believe it or not, the quality of your work shows if you're an ethical employee or not. Employees who are willing to stay late, get the job done, and not only get the job done, but get it done right, have better ethics over than someone who's just going to hand something in because they don't feel like being at work any longer. Their time's up, it's 4 o'clock, they're ready to go. Teamwork is very important. It's a vital aspect of being successful in a company. You don't have to like the people that you're working with, but you have to be able to work with them to get goals achieved. You have to be able to get the job done, and you need to be able to work in a team or else you're not going to be able to have a job. Ethical behavior. It's important to follow codes of conduct. A good example would be if you're a salary employee, you know you're getting paid to be at work from 8 to 5, and say you show up at 8:30 and you leave at 4:15 because you're still getting paid for that time. You're not an ethical employee. You need to follow the codes of conduct. You need to be at work when you're supposed to be at work, and you have to be responsible. The moment that you're hired and you become a part of an organization, you're assigned tasks, duties, and you have a responsibility to fulfill. And if you have a strong work ethic, you're going to be concerned with ensuring that you get those responsibilities fulfilled by the end of the day or by the deadlines. Accountability, each person is held accountable. It's more important when something goes wrong to fix the error rather than play the blame game and say, well, John did something wrong or Oliver did something wrong in the project, so it's not my fault, it's everyone else's fault. It's more important to fix the error and get it done. Taking accountability for your actions in the workplace makes a huge statement. This includes putting in honest time and honest effort into your work. This is like the longest 20 seconds of my life. Okay. Even the strongest mission statement and most principled leaderships are not alone sufficient enough to ensure an ethical corporation. You need to treat others the way that you want to be treated. You can't just expect people to, because you have a good mission statement, to think that you're a good company. You have to prove it. And people in managerial positions impact the way that employees act. So it's important to be a leader, not just a manager, because there is a difference between the two of them. You need to be motivating, you need to help people, and if you're a good leader, then your employees are going to want to follow you, and they're going to want to be good leaders. And respectfulness is more of a rare commodity these days. When someone is looking to hire an employee, they're looking for someone who's going to be respectful, because usually the respectful people have good work ethics. How you handle yourself during conflict has an impact on your career's future. Good rational decisions are hard to come by if you're flustered and you're angry and you're acting out. So it's more important to remain calm and practice how you handle yourself during times of conflict, because that'll have an impact on whether you make ethical decisions or not. And listening to other people's opinions, even if you don't 100% agree with them, giving them time to voice their opinion is a sign of respect. And when you're giving your opinion back, you want to be diplomatic and choose your words carefully, because you don't want to offend anyone. When it comes to talking in the workplace, you want to avoid gossiping. It's one thing to say to someone, you know, if we had an extra person in this department, it would really make our lives a lot easier, rather than saying, well, the person that sits next to me doesn't do their job and they sit on their phone all day and they do this and that wrong, so we shouldn't have them here anymore. You want to show fair treatment to others, especially if you're in a supervisory position. You always want to be fair to everyone. You don't want to give one person the upper hand compared to the other person. You want to treat everyone equally. so this way everyone feels like they're being given a fair chance. A situation that I've run into at work, it was an ethical situation, and the way it was handled, bad ethics were done, everything. So a guy named Frank, it's a building supply company that I work for, sorry, let me backtrack. And he worked in counter sales, and he was taking materials, and he was listing them on Craigslist, eBay, you name it, and he was selling them. And he got caught, and because his brother is best friends with the president of the company, he didn't lose his job right away. He was given time to pay the money back, and he was told, you know, if you don't mess up anymore, you know, you'll get to keep your job, yada, yada, yada. And obviously people found out, and they were very angry and upset and thought, well, can I steal from the company and can I sell stuff? And so the boss didn't handle it right by not firing him, or the CEO rather, and the employee was wrong for stealing. So that just goes to show how having a good work ethic has an impact on whether you have a career or not. You need to instill these values in you now, and you need to practice having ethics at this time. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name's John, and while we're on the subject of ethics, I'm going to kind of explain ethical dilemmas, what they're about, where they can be found, and you know, they can be very stressful, but there's different ways that you can, you know, different steps you could take to help that. But first, I think it's important to understand ethical dilemma and what it actually is. Ethical dilemma, also known as moral dilemmas, they're situations in where there needs to be a choice made that needs to be made between two options. Neither of the two options are necessarily, you know, the best, but you have to choose the one that you believe is more ethical, that you think is more fair for the people. One thing about ethical dilemmas is they're not just in one area. They're found in different occupations when you look them up. Obviously, a lot are in the work office. In the news, you hear a lot about the police force nowadays. Education is a huge one. Certain teachers with grades and how they treat different students and whatnot, and also retirement homes. One thing there's a lot of people in here don't have like a lot of that work experience. So with friendships, you know, you got 3 friends. Becky hooked up with Sarah's boyfriend. Sarah doesn't know, but Katie knows and is friends with both, so she doesn't know which one to choose. Either way, either one she chooses, it's you know, she's kind of not in the wrong, but in the wrong. There's different steps to take. Like I said before, this can be very stressful. Some situations require more steps, some don't. I'm just going to kind of go over the basic steps in which you guys will probably run into in the work field or wherever it might be. The one thing you want to do is you don't want to rush. You don't want to rush a judgment or any conclusions. From a personal experience, to keep some things confidential, I worked at a financial institution in Marlton in the summer, and they sent me out. I was the only student internship. They sent me out to Colorado, California for a little bit for work, and there's some things going on there that were kind of sketchy. So what I did was I went back, which leads to the second step. I went and talked to some of the colleagues from in the Marlton office, talked to people who have been there longer than me. And one thing that's good about sharing it with a colleague is that for the most part, they probably have gone through a situation like that, or they know someone who went through a situation like that. Another thing that you can do is you can sit down at your dinner table, talk about it with your family. Obviously, everyone in here talks different around their family than they do around the professional field. I know when I do, it's more relaxed. You know, you kind of let things slide. Also, a lot of times your parents, somehow they do know, for the most part, what's always right. So it's good to talk to them. Another thing you want to do is you want to avoid this mistake from happening again. So you kind of want to understand where everything went wrong. It's important to figure out this, not only a solution, but you also maybe when you go confront the person about it or when you talk about it, you want to maybe have a solution to it so that maybe it can help them for next time they don't feel attacked. Mistakes are bad. Okay.
No bueno.
Not nicht gut. Okay, next thing you want to do is you want to keep an eye out of the after effects of what you do. Like I said, with a ethical dilemma, there's two choices, and one neither that is just really going to help you in both ways. You want to keep an eye on what happened afterwards, so then you yourself can judge how you could have approached that situation better. One thing